me again. So this is part 2, even though I said I was hoping to do it all in one take. Didn't work that way. This is part 2 of Witchy Wednesday for June 19th to 25th, 2019. And we've been talking about Eris, the asteroid Eris, squaring the Cancer-Capricorn axis, right? And where that's playing out for each of the signs. Particularly your rising sign is important, as I always say. Also listen for your sun sign and your moon sign, right? But so we finished off with Cancer in part 1, and we're going to carry on here with Leo in this video. And because I still have quite a few signs to go through, so there was no way I was getting it done in the first part, and I didn't want to cut anybody short. So Leo, let's carry on with you here. We've got Eris sitting in your 9th house. And again, Eris is in your 9th house your whole life, right? Because she moves very, very slowly. However, she's being triggered right now, which is why I'm drawing this to your attention. So Eris in Aries is sitting again in your 9th house of higher learning. So this is the learning that takes place outside of sort of basic early education. And it can be college, university, or it can be, you know, other courses of study and learning that you do even on your own. Even courses you take on the internet can fall into this, you know, 9th house. It's higher learning of any description. It has to do with your connection to foreign places, foreign cultures, you know, armchair travel or actual travel to more faraway places. It has to do with your philosophy, your belief systems about the world, the universe, you know, what you believe in general. It can have to do with your religious philosophies or dogma or things that you may have been subjected to in that arena. It can have to do with like publishing, getting your message out to the world, that sort of thing. So that's the 9th house where Eris is sitting for you. And she's being triggered by the 12th and the 6th houses, right? 12th house is where Cancer is sitting for you, and 6th is Capricorn. And so being triggered by your unconscious, by your, so maybe like, okay, so like maybe your belief system, 9th house, is being triggered by your unconscious. Maybe things are bubbling up right now and you're going, oh, wow. You know, and feeling this sense of wanting to kind of rise up and take back that 9th house, like my beliefs are my beliefs and philosophies and ideas about the world, and I'm gonna own it and feel empowered there and empowered to speak my truth and be acknowledged and recognized for it and that kind of thing. You know. So the 12th house, as I was mentioning, is challenging that to some degree, the unconscious. It can be, you know, your self-undoing, like your unconscious habits that are self-sabotaging. It can be how you spend time in reflection and solitude can play a part here, and recuperation. It can have to do with your connection to your spirituality, you know, your higher power, whatever that is for you. The dream world even is the 12th house. It can have to do with, sometimes the 12th house has to do with losses as well. And it also has to do with, you know, in a kind of physical world way, it has to do with places of confinement, they used to call it, you know, back in the day. So again, hospitals, hospices, retreat centers, rehab facilities, prisons, spiritual retreat centers, all of these things fall into the 12th house. And then there is, across the sky from that, the 6th house, also kind of triggering this Eris point, right? The 6th house where you have Capricorn, which is about your daily grind and what you do on the day-to-day and all that stuff you got to do on the day-to-day, right? Those tasks, whether they be paid or unpaid in your actual work, you know, outside the home or you know, work at home. It has to do with your health and wellness and routines around that as well. Your self-improvement efforts. It has to do with relationships that are not on an equal playing field. It has to do with, can have to do with small pets as well, the 6th house. But those are all the areas, right? So those 3 houses that I mentioned are playing off each other at this time. And that Eris in the 12th, or in the 9th house rather, is being triggered. And so as I mentioned off the top of the video, it's like something's got to give here, right? What's it going to be? How am I going to handle it? What am I going to do, kind of thing? How am I going to take determined, conscious, willful action to deal with these things, and not kind of blow a gasket? Although, you know, I keep saying this the last few weeks, we're kind of at that point where it's like, if that's what needs to happen, sometimes that's what needs to happen. Sacred anger. So I'll leave you with that, Leo. And I'm going to move on to Virgo now, where we've got Eris in your 8th house. Okay? Eris and Aries is in your 8th house. I'm a close personal connection to this because this is me. I'm a Virgo rising. And so this energy of Eris, right? This, the feminine scorned, the repressed feminine, the warrior goddess energy, you know, where the feminine wants to be acknowledged, seen, loved for who it is. These kinds of things, right? I talked about all of this in the intro, so please, I hope you listen to that because it's important. But so Eris is sitting there and being triggered right now by the 11th and 5th houses. Cancer in the 11th of friendship groups, associations, you know, stuff that goes on the internet, online connections, social media even, our hopes and dreams for the future, and the contacts and folks that can help us with that, like benefactors. That's the 11th house as well. And then opposite that is like the 11th house is like collaborations too, right? And then the 5th house across the chart, which is where Capricorn is for you, Virgo, the Capricorn energy is, it's about our children, whether it be our children or children we're closely associated with. It's about our inner child. It is about, and we all have one of those, right? Whether we acknowledge it or not. It's about your individual creative self-expression. It's also about what sparks joy for you, right? And people say things like, you know, romance, fun, hobbies, but it's all under that umbrella of what sparks joy for you. So Virgo, these are the 3 houses that are kind of in this conversation of challenge right now. And something's got to give, right? And Eris is kind of over there going, hey, pay attention to me, you know? And so, as always, we get to choose how we respond to this energy. And hopefully that gives you some context and something to kind of contemplate and think about at this time, Virgo. So I'm going to move on to Libra now, where we have Eris sitting in your 7th house, Libra. And this is, again, a lifetime affair, right, with Eris there, because she moves slowly, but she's being triggered right now in that 7th house, being triggered by Cancer-Capricorn, all the things that are going on there in the 10th and the 4th house for you. So Libra, let's start with Eris and say that Eris in the 7th is this rising up of this feminine, powerful feminine energy that's calling out for, you know, to be seen, heard, acknowledged, witnessed in your house of one-to-one relationships, of close personal relationships, whether that be business, you know, associates, marriage partners, significant others, close friends, you know, even rivals. This all falls into that category of 7th house. And so Eris is there calling out. This could even be like a very strong female partner, you know, that's really kind of a force to be reckoned with right now. It could even be that. But nevertheless, that 7th house is being triggered by Eris, and the challenge is coming from the 10th house of career, public reputation, the legacy you wish to leave, authority figures or your relationship to your own authority, father figures, your relationship to that kind of thing. And then across the sky, the 4th house of home, family, place of living, your roots, your ancestry, your emotional security, your place of living, if I didn't say that yet. So those are the three pieces of the puzzle for you, Libra, that are playing off each other in a challenging way, truthfully, right now. But again, challenging doesn't have to be bad. It's all about how you choose to respond, right? What are you going to do with this energy? You know, be conscious about it. And you can actually really get some shit done kind of thing right now, which, you know, in these areas, and make some significant changes and get empowered in these kinds of things, right? So Libra, that's for you. And we're going to move on to Scorpio now, where we have Eris in your 6th house of your daily grind and your day-to-day tasks, work related or, you know, home related, like paid or unpaid. It has to do with the relationships that are not on an equal playing field. It has to do with your health and wellness and routines around that, and potentially small pets. It has to do with, you know, your self-improvement efforts. This is 6th house. This is where Eris is for you for your whole lifetime, but it's being particularly triggered right now with this square to the Cancer-Capricorn axis, right? So, and that for you, Scorpio, is the 9th and the 3rd houses. And so the Cancer piece is in the 9th house of higher learning. So anything beyond sort of elementary education, teachers, you know, that kind of thing, gurus. It has to do with our belief system, our philosophies, our worldviews. It can have to do with, you know, sort of more kind of like dogma. It can have, and particularly of the religious variety. It can have to do for the search for truth even. I haven't really mentioned that much. But 9th house, right? Publishing, getting your message out there. Travel, and often foreign travel or travel to faraway places. And foreign cultures and what they bring to the table for you. And then the 3rd house is your communications, your daily communications, how you communicate, the messages that go back and forth, how you self-talk, even. You know, it has to do with your immediate environment and the interactions that take place in that sphere. Siblings, cousins, neighbors, peers, these sorts of things, right? And it can even have to do with your daily commute, the 3rd house. So anyways, all of these things are playing off each other right now, Scorpio. And the Eris and Aries piece in the 6th house for you, that house of the daily grind, is being challenged, right? It's being triggered and challenged by those other two pieces right now. And so it's up to you how you choose to respond and work with that. And, you know, take back your power in that area, in that 6th house area. And kind of, you know, demand the acknowledgement in a sense, really. So that's for you, Scorpio. And please do listen to the intro, though, if you have not, because that'll give you lots of context here. I'm going to move on to Sagittarius. Oh, there was so no way I was getting through this in one video. So, okay, Sag, moving on to you, we've got Eris falling in the 5th house for you. So again, this is for your whole lifetime, but Eris is being triggered right now, right? And challenged. So the 5th house is about your individual creativity, and how you shine that light, right? It's about children, your own children, children you're closely associated with, your inner child. It's about what sparks joy for you. And so this is where Eris sits, and she's being triggered right now, and asking you to, you know, like, take back your power, rise up, fight the fight if it's necessary. You know, don't be a shrinking violet, these kinds of things in that 5th house area. But she's being challenged by the 8th and the 2nd houses, the Cancer-Capricorn piece. Cancer in the 8th house, right? Of other people's resources. Whether those be, like, those can be time, money, energy even. And so, you know, things like taxes, wills, insurance payments, debts, loans, bursaries, scholarships, all of these things fall in that 8th house. But it's about where we feel vulnerable. It's about our intimate connections, our intimate partnerships, where we go deep with people, our deep psychological healing processes, you know, those things that are in the depths that we don't really want other people to see. The cycle of transformation, death and rebirth. This is all 8th house. So that's triggering the 5th house, right, Eris. And then across the chart from that is the 2nd house, Capricorn, of your resources, your own time, money, energy, right? Material possessions, your values, what you value, your self-worth. You know, what are you worth to yourself? Like, how do you, you know, express that or feel about that? And so those 3 pieces are in conversation during this time for you, Sagittarius. And it's kind of like something's got to give, like I said at the beginning of the video, right? And it's your choice how you deal with this energy. And please do listen to the intro to get some context and to help you kind of put that in perspective, all right? So that's for you, Sag. We've got 3 more to do here. I'm moving on to Capricorn. Capricorn, again, you're being triggered hard right now because, you know, there's lots going on in your sign and opposite your sign in Cancer. And then we've got the square, right, to Eris. And that's happening in your 4th house. So Eris sits in the 4th house for you, for your whole life, again, but being triggered right now. And the 4th house is about your home, your family, your place of living, your ancestry, your roots, your peeps, your tribe, you know, people that feel like family, your emotional security, also connection to the mother element in some way. And so this is being triggered for you right now, right? You're being kind of called to take notice in this area, to perhaps take back your power, to stand up for yourself, or for what you know is right, to be acknowledged and noticed in this area in some way. And that's being challenged by the 7th house, which is where your sign is. The 7th house, which is where Cancer is for you, opposite your sign. And then the 1st house, which is obviously your sign, right, Capricorn? So the 7th house is the house of one-to-one relationships. So close personal relationships, marriages, significant others, rivals potentially, but business partners, anybody that you're in close personal relationship with. So that's a challenging piece. That's challenging that 4th house. And then the 1st house of self, like who am I, my identity, my approach to the world, my physical vitality, my physical appearance, how the world perceives me, you know, my instinctual responses to things. And so all these 3 pieces of the puzzle are kind of playing off each other right now in a somewhat challenging way for you, Capricorn. You know, for all of us, but really, you're really being triggered because so much is going on in your sign. And so it is up to you, right, to do what Capricorn does so well, to kind of be the mature and responsible and authoritarian, not overly authoritarian, maybe that's a bad word, one, and to kind of, you know, walk through this fire with your head held high, but also at the same time, you know, kind of not being, I use the expression for another sign, a shrinking violet, not being, not having your voice drowned out, these kinds of things, okay, Capricorn? So I'll leave it with that, and please do listen to the intro for context. And I'm going to move on to Aquarius now, where we've got Eris sitting in your 3rd house. So Eris in the 3rd house, again, for your whole life, but being triggered right now. And this is about early education, early learning. This is about your communications. So like the day-to-day communications, your communication style, the messages that are exchanged back and forth, thinking, you know, writing, speaking, your self-talk, and also about your immediate environment and the back and forth that goes on there between peers and siblings and cousins and neighbors, those sorts of things, people in your community. It can also, in the third house speaks to, short trips and daily commutes as well. So that's where Eris is being triggered for you right now, in some way calling for you to rise up, to take back your power, to, demand to be noticed and acknowledged and loved, to, fight the good fight, these kinds of things, right? And it's being challenged by your 6th house, which is where Cancer is for you, of your daily grind, the things you do on the day-to-day, the daily tasks, whether they be paid or unpaid. That can have to do with your health and wellness routines, as well in the 6th house, and your self-development efforts, and your relationships between unequals, right? Bosses and employees, for example. That's one possibility. And then also being challenged by your 12th house of your unconscious, of your potentially self-sabotaging behaviors, of your dream world, of your connection to your spirituality, higher power, or lack thereof, perhaps. It can have to do with losses, the 12th house. It can have to do with how we spend time in rest, recovery, reflection, solitude, time alone, right, behind closed doors. It can have to do with places of confinement, meaning hospitals, rehab facilities, spiritual retreat centers, prisons, these kinds of things. So those 3 areas of the chart are lit up for you right now, Aquarius. And that Eris in the 3rd house is being kind of challenged by the other 2 houses that I mentioned, right? And again, it is up to you how you respond to this energy. So be mindful, do what you have to do, but be mindful and stand in integrity. And everything should work out just fine, even though we're in quite an intense period right now. Moving on to last but not least, and thanks for your patience, Pisces. So Pisces, rising sun and moon sign people. Pisces, Eris sits in your 2nd house. Okay, so Eris is in your 2nd house for your whole life, because that's where Aries is for you. But she's being triggered right now. So this has to do, Pisces, and this resonates with me as well, because I'm a Pisces sun, right? Virgo rising, Pisces sun. This has to do with your values, what you value, your worth, your self-worth, your resources, whether those be time, money, energy, material possessions. So those are the things that all fall into that 2nd house category. And this area is being triggered by that Eris energy right now, by, mad as hell and not going to take it anymore kind of energy, as I mentioned earlier. Which, it's like it's empowered. It will walk into the fire unafraid. These kinds of things, right? Listen to the intro for more context. But so that Eris in the 2nd is being challenged by the 5th house energy in Cancer and the 11th house in Capricorn for you. And so this is 5th house is your individual creative self-expression. How you shine your light. It has to do with what sparks joy for you and what brings you pleasure in life, how you have fun. It has to do with children. Your children that you're closely associated with, your inner child, all fall into this 5th house category. And so that's challenging that 2nd house in some way, as is the 11th house of groups, associations, clubs, networks, friendship groups, your hopes and dreams for the future. It can even be online groups, the people that can help you achieve those hopes and dreams and support you in that, benefactors, that sort of thing. So these 3 parts of the chart are being triggered for you at this time, Pisces. And again, it's up to you how you choose to deal with that, right? But awareness is everything. And so when we know that this is happening, it goes beyond this level of like, ooh, some weird stuff's going on, right? Because lots of us, especially you, if you're a Pisces, you'll be feeling that. You'll be feeling that. And it's kind of like, this gives you some context. Ah, this is what this is about. I see. Now, what can I do with it, right? So that is for you, Pisces, and that's all 12 signs. And wow, this was a long video, but I feel like it's a really important time to be talking about this. So I hope it was helpful to you. I so appreciate you being here. Beautiful if you'd leave me a comment, like, subscribe, share, all of those things. And I'll catch you next week where we're going to talk about the eclipse that's coming up on July 2nd in the sign of Cancer. Okay, so take good care. Talk soon. Bye-bye.